Also, like a couple of the main reasons why I started looking at health from like a more do-it-yourself approach as opposed to how a lot of people look at it. I didn't go to school for that. I can't do anything to help myself. I don't feel good. I can't, look up any information on the internet and educate myself about health or medicine or anything at all. And that's where, modern medicine being a business takes advantage of you. Um, Two things. One, I had a TA in grad school he was from India, and he was one of the smartest TAs I probably ever had, just in general. And he said something that caught me off guard that said he'd never been to a doctor before. And he was like maybe 30, completely healthy. From as far as I know, as far as I could tell. No, he never said no surgeries, no major, medical, like anything. And that caught me off guard. And I kind of talked to him about it, and he was like, I honestly don't trust modern medicine and how it's a business and how people are given different drugs and things like that. And, that got me thinking. And then the other thing was meditation. And the more I learned about meditation, the more I practiced meditation, the more I realized that it can be used in a lot of ways to keep yourself healthy, to maintain a healthy body and a healthy mind. And those two things were enough. There's, other things I've learned, like little things, from both society, from both things I could do on my own, and modern medicine that, steered me even further away from modern medicine. And unless there's something, the rule is if you can't do it yourself, whatever it is, you see an expert, and your own common sense and judgment on, if you can do something, that's completely a judgment skill that you either have or don't have, or you can build or you can't build. And I remember like talking to different people, clown fucking people. I talked to him about how I had my grandfather's old like first aid, um, like handbook, like the first one. I think I have the second one too. I'm not sure. I think one's blue, one's white, and they're obviously older. They're from the 70s. And I told a couple people that I had it, and I was learning from it. I was reading it, and their poor judgment on my judgment. Be careful what you use and apply if it's old. Suck one. Yeah, I mean, your complete judgment on if something's older versus newer, if things are outdated, if things are modern, on different tactics and tools independently and individually, whether they can be used or not. You know, and that infuriated me, having those conversations with those people. But like different tools you have at your disposal, it's up to you and on you, to gain access to things off the internet, to be able to, trial and error within reason. You obviously don't want to risk your life, but if you're trying to treat a headache and you're trying different things, that's a different scenario, and you can gain some practical knowledge on what works and what doesn't work, whether you use natural foods, whether you meditate, whether you drink water, whether, what do you do on a regular basis that maybe you didn't do today. Like, I didn't have coffee, and I had coffee, and most likely that was the cause of, I think, my headache. And that comes from, again, your own ability to be aware, your own ability to have judgment, and maybe things are easier to me and I don't realize it half the time. And maybe, the way I look at things is different from how a lot of people look at things. But, that's kind of why it's good that I have a channel, because, I'm sure it's going to be unique content. Anybody's content would be unique. But the way I think I look at things, may have been the cause of some of my problems and some of my issues just dealing with people, how I'm different, how I look at things differently. But it's also my strength, and that it's able to create the content that I'm able to create on a regular basis. So there's pros and cons to everything, but your own naiveness and lapse of judgment on anything, whether it's, your own health, you know, but spreading a connotation as to, anybody who says, they don't, go to a doctor. At first I looked at him a little funny, but I asked him. I continually, I heard that, and it caught me off guard, and I said, wait a minute, can you explain a little bit? And I didn't pass judgment. I was like, this guy knows things that I don't. That's my common sense and judgment. Let's ask him about it. Let's not, leave things to assumption. And I learned from talking to him, and I learned from, different things, that remembering that conversation, getting into meditation from somebody I grew up with, went to high school with, who's a really smart kid who kind of left and went away after school and stuff. And he was somebody who, pulled me aside at a nightclub. Maybe he saw me, probably saw me going around and chasing the women I was chasing, and was like, for whatever reason he's doing that. I don't know why he decided to tell me, you should meditate, but he pulled me aside, said meditation is something you might appreciate, and, you might be actually someone who would listen about it, because the majority of people, especially in that setting, wouldn't even listen or give two shits. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is another person who, says something unique, random like that. There's a reason behind it. And even if I don't understand it, it's something, my own judgment and common sense, I'm willing to look into, and I'm willing to investigate. And if I never looked into meditation 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know where the hell I would be. I'd be relying on professionals to do things that they may or may not be capable of doing. But, I'm thankful for both of those conversations, and the way they've gave me a basis and prepared me for maintaining my own health, maintaining, my own level of mental, physical health on a regular basis, and, adapting the skill to do so, and adapting the knowledge, and tying back to the internet, being your textbook to the world, learning from the internet in ways. And, it's not like I go on WebMD and I look up things, and I could do that. I'm sure that would be something that you would just enhance your knowledge and judgment, because that's reviewed, that's critiqued constantly. And when you have that with things on the internet, whether it's businesses that are reviewed, and they give, feedback for that, products that are reviewed, the magnitude and the diversity of the opinions, it's not something that, it's very hard to cheat those kind of things. So using those to your advantage, you have those at your disposal with access to the internet, knowing to use those and knowing their value, that's all on the individual.